Say with me, Father, I thank you
Father, I thank you
for giving me wisdom of this word,
for giving me wisdom of
that
this
it may
word
affect my life,
that affects my
to
life,
do the purpose
to do the purpose
you called in my life.
called in my
In
life.
Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Brianna, we're going to start off with Acts chapter 27. Acts chapter 27, verse 9. And the message today is talking about peace. Peace in the middle of a storm. And I know that in our lives, we're going to have storms. God didn't always promise us peaches and cream. There's going to be storms in our life, but it's how we handle these storms. Knowing that we have an anchor, knowing that we have protection, knowing that God is still with us, no matter what storm we go through. God is always with us. And we're going to understand, and we need to understand the purpose that God has for us in our lives, for one. And he didn't say that we wasn't going to go through anything, but he wants you to know that he's always there when we do. Storms are unpredictable. Sometimes it'd be smooth sailing, and one phone call can really destroy the mentality of a life. One phone call can send you spiraling into anxiety and stress, depression. One phone call, one instance, can be a great day. Everything's happening good. But one word can really ruin a whole evening. And you could be it could last for days, weeks, months that you've been going through some of these things. But God has a word to know that he's with you right in the middle of a storm. And let's read it from Acts chapter 27. When Paul was getting ready to go face Caesar on Caesar's chopping block, they had already killed some of his friends. And now, just for preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, Paul had converted from Saul to Paul. And they were really, really after him because of preaching the gospel. And he had told them that when they got him and captured him, it's not safe to sail right now. He said, it's not safe to sail. We're going to end up getting killed. Possibly getting killed. It's not safe that we go on this journey because the sea that we're traveling is going to shipwreck us. But we'll start with verse 9 in Acts chapter 27. And I'm going to read it through 19. And then we're going to go over that. And then we'll have some more scriptures. Paul's warning, it was ignored. It says, now when much time had been spent, and sailing was now dangerous because of the fast was already over, Paul advised them, saying, men, I perceive that this voyage will end with disaster and much loss, not only of the cargo and ship, but also of our lives. Nevertheless, the centurion was more persuaded by the helmsman and the owner of the ship than by the things spoken by Paul. So they really ignored Paul, the owner of the ship, and the guy, the driver of the ship. They kind of ignored what Paul was saying. Verse 11 says, nevertheless, the centurion was from him. Verse 12 says, and because the harbor was now suitable for winter in, the majority advised to set sail from there also, if by any means they could reach Phoenix, a harbor of Crete, opening toward the southwest and northwest, and winter there. Verse 13 says, when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their desire, putting out to sea, they sailed close by Crete. But not long after, a tempest headwind arose, called Euroclydon. So not long after, it looks really nice out there, not long after the waters were so peaceful and calm, he said, not long after, a storm began to blow in. Verse 15 says, so when the ship was caught, they could not heave into the wind. We let her drive. And when running under the shelter of an island called Clauda, we secured the skiff with difficulty. And when they had taken it on board, they used cables to undergird the ship. And fearing lest they should run aground on the Syrtis sands, they struck sail and so were driven. And because we were exceedingly tempest-tossed, he said, because the wind was blowing so hard, just moving around, the next day, they lightened the ship. On the third day, we threw the ship's tackle overboard with our own hands. Here they are, getting set out. Really, they were going to Italy. That was the destination they were going to head to. And they went out and started sailing, and the calms and waters were calm. And everything looked good. But right after Paul had warned them, here comes a storm. And remember, the storm Paul had warned them about, he told them that it's going to be bad for all of us. It will be destroyed because of the wind. And but they ignored him and they went on anyway. They loaded up, and when the storm, the Bible, it says that they took heed and they fought against the storm, and they gave in to it. It says in verse 13, it says, the south wind and it blew softly. And when in 14 it says, not only the head rose calm, and it said the ship was caught, and they could not heave into the wind. We let her drive. See, when you don't have peace, at first they had peace, and they were sailing out. Everything was fine. See, this is what the enemy does. The title of this message is called Pirates. There's a pirate out there that's trying to take your peace. He's trying to take your peace, and he'll put storm after storm in your life to try to steal your peace. So this is what happened on the ship. What happened first is when they lost their peace, they lost their strength. Yes. Because they were trying to fight against the wind. And the wind got so boisterous, and they tried to do the tackles and the sails, and they didn't have enough strength to fight the wind, so they just rolled with it. So the first thing that you're going to lose when you don't have peace in your life, you're going to lose your strength. You'll lose your strength. So it says they take heed. They gave way to it. So what had happened, and that's in verse 15. It was caught. So he said, we let her drive. And running under the shelter of an island called Clauda, we secured with the skiff for difficulty. And when they had taken it on board, they used cables to undergird the ship. They had lost their strength. So they just gave in. One thing about when you lose your peace, you lose your strength. And the next thing you do when you really lose your peace, you're going to lose your way. Because the ship was being tossed and aboard, and they got off course. And they started sailing and just looking for a place to go. So the first thing, when you don't have peace in your life, you're going to lose your strength. Then you're going to lose your way. See, God had us on a path. And you're going through something right now. You may be going through something that it gets you sidetracked. And you get off of what the Bible says that you ought to be. Peace I leave you, peace I give you. All things work together to the good to those who love God. Those things start bothering your mind and you lose your way. You get off course sometimes. Not only do you lose your strength, but you lose your way. When you got stress, you got anxiety, you got depression, all these things, you have lost your peace, you lose your strength of God, you lose your way. Yeah. That's not only the thing they're losing. See, a lot of times before, let me read on down, I think I read on down to 19. what happens is, you know that before they went sail, they had all this valuable cargo loaded on the ship. And it was very valuable at the time because they went out sailing. But when the wind came and it got trouble, if you look and see in verse 19, let's look at verse 18 and 19 again. And because we were exceedingly, the tempest tossed, the next day they began to light the ship. And on the third day, they threw the ship's tackle overboard with their own hands. All the stuff that was valuable to them didn't matter anymore. They started throwing it off the ship just to save their lives. See, sometimes in our lives, we try to hold on things that have no value in our lives anymore.
Yes, that's true.
Sometimes in life and things, it's time to cut loose and let go.
Yes.
And go another direction. Because some of the things that's been holding us back for a long time is still trying to hold us. We're still trying to hold on to it. You're going to sink if you don't let it go. There's some things in our lives that's going to make us sick if we don't let it go. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, relationships, some things are holding you back to keep you from getting to where you're going. You're going to have to lighten this load on you.
Lighten the load.
You're going to have to let it go and move forward because God has called you. That's why we're here today. Those who are here and those who will listen to this message that we're going to put online, this message is for you. You need to know that something is holding you back from what God has a purpose for you. Even though you love God, something is holding you back. Because once you lose your peace, you lose your strength, you lose your way, and then you start throwing things overboard, trying to find out what's really important in your life. You need to know what's really important in your life right now so that you can move forward. Let's look at what the scriptures say. Let's go on to verse 20. This story has an impact on not only on our lives, but on the direction we're headed in life. Now, neither the sun nor the stars appeared for many days, and no small tempest beat upon us. All hope that we would be saved was finally given up. They had been out to sea for 14 days. They hadn't seen the sun or the moon for 14 days. Not only did they lose their peace, they lost their hope. They lost their way. Because he said all hope was gone. They lost their hope too. So it's a combination of things that happen from when this pirate. See, the Bible tells us that Satan came to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yes.
That he said that I came that you might have life, and life more abundantly. So it's not the choices that well, somebody asked me one day, well, Pastor, why does God allow bad things to happen? God is a good God. He doesn't allow bad things to happen. It's our choices that we make allow bad things to happen in our lives. Because he says that all things work together for the good. See, he can't violate his word. He gave us the most powerful thing on the planet called free will. He's given us a free will to choose our own destiny. We can even choose to reject him if we want to. That's our free will. And then we have a choice. The free will and a choice can make us to a demise. And then we want to blame God on all the things that we're going through when it was our own free will and our choices. Because he's given us some promises. There's over 7,000 promises in this history lesson called the Bible. And all these promises has given you things like in Psalm 91. I have given angels charge over you to guard you and to watch over you. But it's hard for him to protect you when you get outside the ark of safety. See, when you have an umbrella, and you know God is keeping you, here's what he said in Psalm 34:7. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. God does not lie. He delivers them. So when you're under that protection of the umbrella of God, it's going to work out to the good. But once you step outside that umbrella, you're on your own. He can't protect that. So you have to stay under this umbrella of safety. So, whenever you live, not according to what the word says, things may happen to you. But we know this, that God never allows things to happen to take you down. It's to give you a lesson for you to learn. And he doesn't tempt people. God is no tempter. He's not a tempter. Because he said this in even the Bible prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It goes on and says, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Lead us not into temptation. So God will never lead us to be tempted. Okay? Yes. That's the point I want to get to you. Verse 20 says, again, when neither the sun nor the stars appeared for many days, no small tempest beat upon them. So it was just storms they were in. The storms of life will keep you from looking on the outside. All the thing you can see is the storm that you're in. He said all hope that we should be saved was finally given up. So not only does when you lose your peace, you lose your strength, you lose your way, and then it says you lost your hope. But with God, you'll never lose hope. With God, he'll always be there because he'll never leave you and forsake you. Verse 21 says, but after a long abstinence from food, then Paul stood in the midst of them and said, men, you should have listened to me. And now that we have sailed from Crete and incurred this disaster and loss, and now I urge you to take heart. For there will be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. For there stood by me this night an angel of God, in whom I belong and whom I serve, saying, do not be afraid, Paul. You must be brought before Caesar, and indeed God has granted you and all those who sail with you. Therefore take heart, men, for I believe God that it will be just as it was told to me. Listen, church, I'm telling you. Now, we see all the people that are out today. Most of these people are hurting. Something's going on in their lives. And they love God, but something's burdening them to hold them back. So, when all hope was lost, the angel of the Lord came to Paul and said, Paul, you tell these guys, be of good cheer. Yes. Nobody's going to die in this storm. They thrown all the tackle off the ship. They thrown all the things that was very valuable off the ship just to try to save their own lives. Earlier, it was so important that they loaded this stuff on. Then all the stuff that was valuable to them, they ended up throwing it overboard. See, there's some things in our lives that we think is valuable, we need to get rid of them. Yes. So that we can get our walk right with God. That's right. So that we can get our walk right with God. And then here's something that he wants you to know. Because you're here today, and we're in this circle, if he's got a hedge of protection around me, he's got a hedge of protection around you. Amen. He's got a hedge of protection around you. Paul said, nobody's going to get hurt. Just hold on. Everybody's going to survive. The angel of the Lord came to tell me. You need to start looking at the scriptures and what the scriptures say about who you are. Just because you got a lot of people in here and there and there and there, you got to get the word inside of you. It's got to be the word that's going to deliver you. This storm that this world is in, I'm telling you, it's a storm out there. If you don't believe me, look at the government, how divided we are. We got to pray for all of those things, guys. We pray that God give them all good visions so that we can get back on track with Jesus. America can't be great without God. We got to take God back into the situation. We got to bring God back into Congress so that fighting will stop. We got to bring Christian men and women back into the White House. Yes. Thank you, Lord. We got to pray those people that God will. Just when King Darius, he was a king, and he loved Daniel. But the people behind him had set up a trick that they decreed that whenever the king wrote a decree out, you had to go by the decree. Even the king had to go by what he said. So they had tricked them and made a decree that nobody, you got to serve and pray to Nebuchadnezzar, the big statue. Everybody's got to do it. For 90 days, I can't remember how many days, but they had to, for a certain length of time, they had to pray to this statue. And Daniel never would, because Daniel would pray to our Lord and Savior. He would pray to God, his God, the God of Israel. And the king saw him praying to that. And he didn't want to do it, but he had made the decree. So they had tricked him into making that decree first so they could get rid of Daniel. So he had to throw Daniel into the lion's den. And Daniel didn't get mad at him. See, we can't keep getting mad at what's going on in our government. So when King Darius threw him into the lion's den, Darius ran out the next day and said, Daniel, did your God save you from these ferocious lions? He said, he wasn't mad at the king for throwing him into the lion's den. He's rubbing that lion's hair. Long live the king. Long live the king. And Darius was very happy. Then the people that tricked him, he threw them into the lion's den, and the Bible says their bones, their flesh didn't even hit the ground. The lion ate them up that fast from hunger. See, what I'm trying to tell you is God has protection around you as long as you believe what the word is saying. When you're having a hard time financially, listen, there's a reason why you are. You can't continue to give to everything else and not do what God has called you to do. See, we don't have to go over and over and all of that. You know, all I'm asking you to do is give your heart to God and be obedient to God first, so that he can get you out of this mess, because he wants to bless you to bless others. And it doesn't come monetarily. He wants your heart for him. And once your heart gets right with him, he'll do the rest. He'll do the rest. We got a lot of people that are struggling out here emotionally, spiritually. They don't know which way to go. I've talked to several this week that oh yes, I need the Lord. Look, they have too much time between services, because the enemy has 24 hours a day, while I only talk to them 15 minutes. And then their heart leaves them from the conversation. But when they see God and they come to God, they really believe that they got a relationship with God, because they're in the house of peace. They're in the presence of the Lord, and they get close to the Lord. But when they leave, that natural talk comes back. See, I'm going to tell you something. No matter how strong you are, you need to stay away from natural talk. You need to keep God in your presence. And it may be your family. It could be right in your home that you're having fights all the time. It's time out to start praying about those little things. Family, parents, husband, wife, whoever it may be. There's storms that are raging. And most of the time, these storms start in our home and venture out. We think it's the devil. Well, the devil is not something with a forked tail and pointed ears and with a pitchfork. The devil uses words. The very words that you're listening to are the spirits of the Antichrist. Because he said in John chapter 6, verse 63, the words that I speak are spirit and life. Well, I heard somebody tell me one day, Pastor, I can't help what I think sometimes. I can't help it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Here's what he said. And go ahead and put up this one for me, Brianna. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. See, the devil is always shooting fiery darts at our minds. See, if he can get to our minds, he can try to control our hearts. Because once your heart controls your mind, see, that's what God wants. God wants to control your heart. That's why he speaks to your heart. He doesn't talk to your head. Your head is learning by what the world does. But your heart learns from God. So if your heart is right with God, they can't tell you something that's going to affect your heart. But if you start listening with your head, it'll destroy your heart. It says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself up against the knowledge of God, and bringing every thought into captivity into the obedience of Christ. Amen. We can, as long as we keep getting this word and feeding this word in us, these scriptures start coming to life in us. That's what happens to me, for me, is when I hear things, the word always comes back to me. Whatever situation I'm going through, I said, what would Jesus do? How would God handle this? And scriptures come. He said, let this mind that be in Christ be in you. So you can do it too. Well, that was God. That was God. That wasn't me. He said he's living inside of you. You know, you're more powerful than anything on the planet. Here's what he said about the wisdom of God and the strength of God. And we're getting ready to close. Let me see. Would you put up? There has never been born a woman greater than John the Baptist. But he that is least in the kingdom is greater than he. Would you try to Matthew 11:11? I'm not sure if that's it or not. Matthew, there has never been man born of woman greater than John the Baptist. But he that is least in the kingdom is greater than he. Boy, God is so good.
That's right.
He is so good. You know, how is his word?
Praise God.
Boy. Lord, that's you. I know it. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath never been arisen greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, that he that is least in the kingdom, we're in the kingdom of God. When you got born again, you got born into the kingdom. He that is least in the kingdom is greater than he. Guess what John the Baptist was? He was the forerunner for Jesus Christ. Baptized Jesus in the Jordan. You're in the kingdom. That wasn't God. That's Jesus. I'm not Jesus. Yes, you are. He's living inside of you.
Amen.
You got to know who you are. That's what's wrong today. We don't think that we're who we are. We don't think that who we're supposed to be because we've been living in a natural world trying to be natural. When you have the supernatural supposed to be living inside of you.
Glory to God. Hallelujah.
It's time for us to rise up.
Thank you.
There's people hurting out there. Look at these empty seats today. It bothers my spirit just a little bit. But what it does is encourage me, let me know the potential we have to go fill the rest of the seats.
Yes, Lord.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
See, there are people hurting. Right in our own families. And we're going to attack our families first, too. We got to go to our family. Because we see our families struggling. How can we help the whole world? And our families are hurting, too. The ones we know. But those are the hardest ones to get. But just keep walking with Christ. Just keep walking with God. You need to know this first thing. God has an anchor for you. We're going to let our anchor down. Once we let our anchor down, the anchor of God, we can be all right. Because he's got an anchor. Our anchor is Christ Jesus, y'all. Living in us. One thing about peace. Once you lose your peace, you lose your strength. When you lose your strength, you lose your way. When you lose your way, you lose hope. That's why you see some of the things that's happening in the world today. These people have lost hope in the church because they don't see peace. God's calling you to have your peace today. Once we get our peace, we'll be back in line with God. The doors of the church are open.
Amen. Praise God.
Here at Colorblind Ministries, we want to be in prayer for you continually. That you be, it says, I pray that you prosper and be in good health. So why don't you partner with us at P.O. Box 166, Sulphur Springs, Texas, 75482. We want to be a blessing to you. So partner with us.